Jesus.
What?
Was this meditation hour?
No, I had to... Woosah.
Woosah?
So, yeah. So, anger management. All right. So, we're in Cebu. We've been in Cebu for 4 days.
We've been in Cebu. Yes, we are.
Yeah. It's not raining yet now, though.
Man, for like the last 3 or 4 days, it's been raining.
Yeah.
And we knew we came here during rainy season, which is fine. But the weather was super nice for like the first 2 or 3 weeks that we were here.
We lucked out like insane.
Super
I've
lucky.
talked about that with almost everybody I've met. I was like, how did it rain only when we were sleeping for 3 weeks?
Yeah, well, I mean, to the point of where people were saying it was kind of a drought,
Yeah,
which is
for sure.
probably not good for the locals.
Well, you know.
Yeah, but super hot, nice, sunny, and then just the last week, I guess, with the typhoon off the coast
Yeah.
there.
Well, the tropical storm that went through.
Tropical storm, right.
Yeah. It actually was really bad. There was actually some people that suffered pretty poorly from it. I don't know if you saw
Oh,
that.
man, no, I didn't read about that.
Yeah.
Is it further north of us?
Yeah, it wasn't here. I can't remember exactly where it was.
Okay.
Christina showed me on a map. But there was like 20-something people, I think, that passed.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it was pretty rough. Anyway.
Okay.
It's
Who's
been-
Christina?
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of dropped it in there.
Oh, sure. Anyway, we're here to talk about Siargao. All right, so we just got here from Siargao. Our final week in Siargao, we finally made it to the north. And I would say that was probably the best week since we've been here.
Oh, man. Well, it's wildly different from General Luna, which is more of a tourist area, right? And that's kind of where people come in to go and obviously surf and hang out. And that's where all the clubs are and the parties are. And it's fun, and we've talked about that in the past. But going to the north was just completely different. I mean, we're really in a community of locals. It felt to me when we flew in what that small island vibe kind of should feel like, what I anticipated it would feel like.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting because I think we had talked a little bit about like what we hoped to get from being there after we had left the big cities and stuff. And I think it took a couple of weeks, but once we got there, and then especially once we left, we realized like how special it was, the experience that we were able to have, and that we kind of got what we had hoped for.
We touched on, I think, how we met Jay and the Carsata family in the last video, and that's kind of what prompted us to move up to the north. It just kind of planted that seed for me of Geo's cool, we love it, we're having a great time here, we could be here for an extended amount of time, but I would really like to kind of go and hang out with this family for a little bit and see what the north is about and see more what the local Filipinos do. And that was really eye-opening for me.
Well, I mean, if like your first experience with somebody is like, oh, let me stop what I'm doing and let me show you like what we're about, and like this is all the things that we have, and like if you need anything, let us know. It's like, oh, well, I think we're just going to come up here then, because that was like as warm a welcome as you could ever hope for from anyone.
Absolutely.
So that was really nice.
It's just, it's interesting, and it for me, it puts more of a perspective on this place. And I'm not trying to bag the States at all, right? Like, I love the States, but I do. I really do. But, like, I haven't experienced that in a long time.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that.
I mean, I live in it's not a big city. It's not Manhattan or Chicago or anything like that. But it's a place where you run into a lot of people on a daily basis. And you almost feel like after a while, people are inconvenienced by talking to other people. Just even passing by in the morning and saying hello.
I've talked about it with so many people since I've been here, but it's interesting to see that like culturally, if you just have that openness, the amount of opportunity you have to engage with new people is like exponentially increased. We can feel so lonely in the States because there's so much individuality that like, unless I was planning to meet with you, I'm kind of too busy to talk to you. Is kind of the vibe.
Sure.
It's not always the case, but like that's kind of the vibe.
And we've talked quite a bit, and I've answered in the comments quite a bit too, about I probably mistakenly spoke by said Filipinos are known for staring, and actually someone commented and said that's probably a strong word, and I would totally agree with that. And I think I rephrased it in my reply by saying that we were forewarned before we came here that may be a thing, and it hasn't disappointed. It kind of has been a thing, and like we both kind of stand out like a sore thumb. I think I kind of stand out like a sore thumb by myself being 6'2", 6'3", and Korey being as tall as he is. But they just want to interact and they just want to say hi. And sometimes they're very shy about it, which is okay. Right. And that's usually, we're pretty good at picking up on that. And that gives us an opportunity to interact with them. And that's been really a lot of fun for me. I've enjoyed that part of it.
For sure.
So, but the Carsata family, when we went there, and essentially the first thing they did was, hey, I'm going to stop working now. I'm going to jump on my motorcycle and you guys follow me, and I'm going to show you some of the coolest places within 5 or 10 minutes of this restaurant. Yeah. And that kind of took me back a little. I was like, yeah, let's do that. And it kind of really planted that seed that, man, maybe we really should go to the north.
Yeah. Well, and then that prompted like, okay, so I think somewhere in that little journey is when, I don't know if it was you or if it was Mark or if it was just like kind of all happened at once, but you decided to like surf the next day. Like, this is great. We had a great lunch. Thanks for showing us around. We should surf tomorrow. And then you guys did, right? That was
exactly.
Which is, I mean, how much of a warm welcome are you looking for? That's about as warm as it gets. Like.
Yeah, it was amazing. So Mark, we may or may not have talked about in the past. Mark and I met surfing in Costa Rica last year. I stayed at a hostel in Playa Hermosa, Santa Teresa, in Costa Rica, and I was there for surfing in the morning, in the afternoon, and then during lunchtime I would take Spanish classes, and Mark was there for surfing. So we kind of hit it off right away. Super duper nice guy from Switzerland, speaks a couple different languages, including Spanish, so it was kind of nice to have him kind of around because I was learning Spanish at the time, and he loved to surf, so I would always have a surfing buddy to go with. And we kind of kept in touch since we left there last year. We told him that we were coming here, and he literally jumped a plane and came right away. Probably a bit of regurgitation there. I think we've talked about that in the past. However, we were super jazzed up to go surfing, and he had already had a board, and I kind of needed one after we went surfing on the boat, and I had just kind of felt that board's not the right size for me. I was just paddling way too much, couldn't get the board out of the water, and it was very, very difficult for me to surf that board. So I was kind of on the hunt for a new board, and Jay invited us out, and Mark was already set up ready to go, and Jay basically says, oh, I have a whole quiver. I have 4 or 5 different boards. Just come pick one and let's surf. And guess what? My dad, Tata, is coming with us. Yeah, which was really cool. So it was the 4 of us, Mark, Jay, Tata, and myself, and we went out to a surf spot there local to the restaurant, Bamboo.
Yeah.
Yep, went out to Bamboo. And the waves were great that day. I mean, they were actually really fun, and I finally had the right board and got some good rides in. And it was a bit shallow with the reef there. We were kind of at mid-tide between low and high tide. But we had some great surf, and more importantly, we were able to kind of bond quickly with Jay and Tata. And after that surf session, I felt like we kind of really started to get in with the family more.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I was there for the very first surf session with just Jay, and then just a day, or I think it actually was the next day, is when you went surfing with Tata and Jay. Like, I went out, I don't surf, but I went out, swam around for a little while, was going to try and shoot, but that day it was kind of higher tide. That was when I went out with the GoPro and stuff, and then all that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Jay literally had exams and made sure he could come out and surf with you guys. Then he literally jumped on his bike and had to go to Dapa. He said, the family's ready for you to have breakfast when you're done surfing, but I got to go do my exams. That's what he said to me when he left.
Wow.
And then that was, I think my first major engagement was that first breakfast when he went to his exams, and then we went and had food after that first surf sesh.
So the family had kind of been through a rough patch with the typhoon, from what we've come to learn. And they started the little restaurant as a souvenir shop, wasn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I don't remember exactly how the full story was, but when, like, post-typhoon, the current Carsata building started as a souvenir shop.
Okay.
And then JJ was going to culinary school in Cebu. And then he was like, we should just do food. And from what I gathered was that it was like his push to be like, let's be a restaurant. And then he made this amazing menu. Seriously, 100% of the food there is absolutely
really good.
Bananas. And it's so consistent. Like, I couldn't be that consistent in the kitchen that they have there. And they just crush it every time. And I think he made the right call. Like,
100%.
It's an amazing place to eat. I mean, we ate there at least once every day, but mostly twice a day for like 9 days or something.
Absolutely.
We were still in GL and we drove up and got food.
Yeah.
But it made sense. And, you know, he's a really bright guy. He's got a great head on his shoulders, and his family is just so like on it and talented and generous that like they really can't fail.
No,
like,
you're right.
They're going to do really well.
They are.
No matter what they do, for sure.
Well, yeah, and we even talked about, you mentioned that they have no right to be as good as they are.
No,
with
like,
the resources that they
like
have.
I'm not kidding. That is my favorite place in Siargao to eat food. If you are there, go to Carsada.
Like I've been to restaurants in the States that have just way more resources, and they're not even close to being as consistent as this place is. And it's gonna, you'll go there on any given day, and there'll be kind of a different group of family members depending on who's maybe watching the kids or who's going to school, or they got a million different things going on. But it's kind of always a different group, and they're always just super highly welcoming, and different people cooking, and not a high-tech kitchen by any means, but the food that comes out of there every day and every meal is just so hyper consistent, and it's delicious every time. It's unbelievable.
I'm like craving a burger right now.
Yeah.
I've showed it in other videos, but man, it's like ham and a burger patty and like a cabbage like slaw thing and like amazing. All of this stuff all in a burger.
It's really
just
good.
So good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that
pancake
chicken sandwich. Don't even get me started on
I don't need you to get hungry right now because we gotta shoot this.
No, so good, man. So good. But
it's awesome.
No, it was amazing. So back to the surfing bit. Yeah, we had a couple different surf sessions with them. Loved them to death. That was kind of a daily thing where we'd wake up, go grab a cup of coffee, and then at some point we'd go surfing. And we found a spot up north. You remember that?
A spot. It wasn't a spot. In fact, Mayan said it distinctly wasn't a surf spot.
Well, we found out later it wasn't a surf spot, to be fair.
But the first night the waves were kicking pretty good.
Yeah.
You guys had that was I think the first, what I would call good surf session that you and Mark had by yourselves.
That's true.
Where you like both walked away from it feeling like it was a good surf session.
That's true. So the story on this kind of goes that we were going up north to a specific surf spot. And there was a couple of surf spots, one to the left, one to the right. And as we got up there, we saw that both of them had a lot of people in it. And
so this is up by Tengbo Beach and Secret Paradise. Those are what they're called. And both of those are actually left of this non-surf spot.
Correct. So we go up there, and Mark and I, in our infinite wisdom, look out and go, wow, those are some really nice waves, and nobody is surfing them. So we look around with a bit of reluctance. There's a huge rock sticking up over to the left, but it was way far outside the surf area. And the beaches are kind of known after surfing bamboo for having a bit of coral on the bottom, so we were very concerned about how deep it might be. And then there was kind of a break to the left, a break to the right, and it was an angled break. Anyways, we looked out, we said, this looks kind of worth paddling out. And it was kind of a far paddle out. But we did.
But it looked good.
It like
really looked good.
And we're like, how come nobody is surfing here? We know better than all the locals, so we're just going to paddle out, which is exactly kind of what we did. And the bottom was nice and sandy, and the waves were really nice. They were really nice rides, super long rides, and we kind of turned out to have a blast, and it was super safe.
You had a good long session. I met a great beach dog. It was epic. It was a great time.
Mark got some good rides. There was literally no complaints. It was so fun. We surfed right up until dark.
Well, right until we all looked into this oncoming rainstorm.
Oh my gosh!
And but it went well.
Yeah, it went fantastic.
I was content on the beach. I was shooting. It was a beautiful time. It literally is like so tranquil. There's a little a very cool statue shrine thing.
Yes,
for Florentino. I'll show it. It was very cool. I took a bunch of photos of it and I thought it was sick. But yeah, it was a really calm, tranquil spot. Meanwhile, like Tengbo and Secret Paradise were like, there's like 60 people over there. And you guys were like hey, why is nobody at this really great
All
surf
right,
spot?
y'all leave that. We're going to stay over here because we know way better than everyone else.
But then the next day when you went.
Oh, man. So it turns out we got lucky, right? So
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing time.
So we look out, and I'm thinking the tide's a bit lower, right? And again, there's a break on the left, a break on the right, and then there was where we paddle out, because in our infinite wisdom, we would paddle out, and then we would cut back into the wave, which made it really nice, because there's not waves crashing on you while you're trying to paddle out. And we get out there about halfway, and we realize it's a riptide, and it's taking us out to sea. And so we both kind of start freaking out a little bit, and we immediately realized why this is not a surf spot. And so I had a longboard. It was super floaty. So it's kind of like being in a canoe, really.
Right. You could glide a little bit, paddle your,
Exactly, man. I dug in and I was like, I'm not dying today, boys. And so I just paddled in and I went over, and I was actually in a spot where I was like, oh, cool, I can actually surf now, and I can kind of do what I need to do.
Meanwhile, this entire first few days of surf, Mark definitely could have had more volume in this board.
Oh, 100%.
So for this spot, and especially this riptide, Mark's board was a little light on the volume.
Yeah. So I turn around and Mark's kind of struggling a bit, and he's like, Cruz, I need you to maybe come get me. And he was really so hyper composed. I was like,
he's like,
I mean, you're fine, dude.
This isn't great. Right. We should figure this out.
This is less than ideal, but it's all right. And then I get out of there. I'm like, oh, dude, you're struggling. I don't know how to get you out of here. And to his credit, I went up, I gave the guy a high five, and I was like, dude, you got this. And
paddle out, bud, you'll be all right.
He was like, walk it off, dude.
See ya as you're on your longboard, and you're like, bye.
No, dude, he was fine. So went out, and even later he said, that's really all the motivation I needed, was just to know that somebody was there with me. So I paddled back in, we paddled out, and then we kind of called the waves in and said, okay, we understand now this is not a surf spot.
Yeah.
However, we go in and we talk to some surfers that night, and we're sitting here just, dude, we almost died. We almost got pulled to the next island.
We're hanging out with the Kursada family. Yeah. And so Mayon is a very good surfer, very good longboarder surfer. She's won competitions and stuff like that. She's fantastic. And she just is like, she's looking at us funny, and then she asks us wait, where were you? And I mentioned the Florentino statue, and she's like, that's not a surf spot.
We're like, what do you mean?
The day before was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
So that was pretty funny. I wasn't there for the tumultuous moment, but
there was
the recollection of it.
Yeah, there was somebody else that Mark talked to as well, and he said that, oh no, it's fine. So surfers actually use that.
The riptide, and it takes you to the waves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you know that it's going to take you out so far, and then you could just paddle over, dude, that's mega. That's the best thing you could possibly hope for. You just chill out there while it takes you out, catch your breath, and
especially if you're not on a longboard. If it takes you out on a shortboard, you're having a great time.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But we didn't know that, so we thought we were going to die.
Yeah, I mean, if that riptide takes you out past the break way out into the ocean, have fun paddling back.
Right? I mean, you're SOL. So, just not knowing the spot, and, but that was fun.
Hey, nobody died.
It would have made for a pretty good story. But the surfing, all in all, there was pretty fun. We found a couple of different spots. What was the one right up the street that Mark surfed?
Big Wish.
Big Wish,
yeah. And he hit that. He was playing around at Big Wish, and then as we were leaving, it was insane. Mm-hmm. I went up for Wi-Fi, so you go up the hill towards San Isidro from Pacifico, and I would just ride my bike up there to just send texts and stuff. And I was watching it, and I was like, these are the biggest waves I've seen in Siargao since I've been here.
Big, yeah.
When we were leaving, it was really nuts. And then this storm that just came through, I think that was when they were having 8 to 10 footers.
Yeah, twice as big.
I would have loved to see that.
Yeah, so surfing up there was pretty mega, but there was a lot of other stuff to do up there as well.
Well, especially once we started figuring out Burgos and we kind of got around, it was nice.
So it's San Isidro, and then
Pacifico, then some space, then Burgos,
and then the northern tip of the
Alegria Beach, and then you go around to Santa Monica and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we tried, I think, all the big spots. We went to Locale and Burgos, which was great. We went there a couple of times. They have really great wraps. Get them spicy. They're delicious.
Locale's really good. Yeah.
Collect Bebo.
Collect Bebo.
That place is really good. They had really good bowls. They had, you know, you could get drinks or food. It was really solid. Yeah, I don't know. It was almost nice that we had to travel a little further to get to anywhere that was like special.
It was.
Everything that we did there was solid. All the people were good, and there was just like so few crazy foreigners that like it was us.
Yeah,
it was us or
right.
locals.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of friends though. We did meet Oliver he lives in Portugal,
right? Yep.
And then Max, and so it was nice. It was so cool. It was literally like everywhere we went, it became a small community. We were a part of it, and it was like as much our like gifted visitor space as it was like our home, which is awesome.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, you remember that? Speaking of it, just kind of traveling around, you remember that place that we went to, that river? What was it, the Masin?
Yeah, Masin River, the palm tree rope swing, not a rope swing.
Yeah.
And then there was the, those cold pools? I didn't go in there, but there was the rock pools.
The rock pools.
Yeah, and we walked up and everyone was just staring at me. Oh my gosh! So, before we went to the rock pools, the night before, I went to all these parties really late. He was out for a little while, and then me and Mark split up from Harana. You went to bed and then told me about some people that wanted to hang out. So I went out, I met all these people, I had a great time, it was nuts. But then we're going to the rock pools, and there was a man there who had a photo of me with his friend, which was amazing. We literally walk up and he goes, I have a photo of you.
That was because his friend was actually a pretty tall Filipino.
Yeah. So his buddy, I walked up to this party at Banha in General Luna, and there was just like this group of guys hanging out, and he must have been at least 6 foot, maybe even 6'2".
Yeah.
And we had chatted. He and I actually ended up going to that party, and we hung out for the night and stuff like that. But yeah, he took a photo of us because he was relatively tall, and this dude was just chilling at the rock pool.
Yeah.
And he showed me the photo, and then he deleted it when he was done because he was like, well, I guess I don't need this anymore.
That's
it was
great.
really wild that I met this guy again.
I totally forgot about that.
It was cool. Yeah, I forgot about it too until you brought it up. That's sick.
That was a pretty wild night. Do you mind kind of telling a little bit of the story of what happened later that night? Because we split at one point. I was cashed out after surfing and everything.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of a group that wanted to hang out, and so you went back out for a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the quick story for how that all happened, we were all at Harana. It was a great time, and that's in a previous video. But Mark and I stay at Harana, and you were like, hey man, I'm good, I'm gonna go chill. And I don't remember where you met those girls, but me and Mark stayed back, but then left almost immediately after you. We went and got pizza, and then you went and hung out with these girls. Mm-hmm. And then I go back to our Airbnb. He tells me that these girls said, where's your tall friend? So he was like, dude, just like drop your bag and go see these girls. Because they were having like a birthday party. So it was like a big group of people just having fun.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you're not ready to go to bed, dude, you should just go have a good time, is what you told me, basically. Yeah. And I went, yeah, you're right. I'm totally not ready to go to bed. And so I go to El Lobo. I don't see them. El Lobo's basically closing. And then I go to Banha. So this is where I met this really tall guy and all that. But so I'm hanging out. I have some drinks. We're dancing and singing. And I think I'm like, realistically, I'm one of the only like non-locals or at least non-Filipinos in the area. Because I was, as far as I could tell, the only white guy around. And it was fun. Talked to a bunch of people. And then there was this fiery, tiny Filipina who was like bloodthirsty and screaming with a chair in her hand, and I went, oh boy, what is this? So I walked over and I was kind of looking because I was trying to like find these girls still, and then I was ready to kind of leave, and then she's yelling at this foreigner, and this foreigner is being a total jackwagon, like a really, really rude guy. And I was like, okay, she seemed like she had it figured out. She was very, very intense. And I was like, she's good. But I was just watching because naturally I would. And then this foreigner guy spits at her. And I don't know about you, Cruz, but like the way I was raised, if I see a man spit at a woman and no one is going to do anything about it,
chance.
I had a couple of shots. We did some Jaeger bombs at Banha.
Good for you, man.
And I went, yeah, no, I'm good. So I walked up and I kind of did something about the situation. I said some not so kind things to this foreigner guy. Told him to look around and realize where he was. I was like, you need to get out of here, dude.
Absolutely.
This is not your space to be.
Yeah, you can.
And then he did some mean stuff a little bit more than that, and I was like, nah, not today.
No.
So I kind of moved him along in the ways that my giant, quietly aggressive self can manage, and and he left, and Banha kind of teetered out, and some of the people like thanked me for being able to step in and do that or whatever. It was what it was. The girl was grateful because like she's from the Philippines, and I told her like it's not worth it. I know you could absolutely do something about it. You're fine, but like he's not worth it. And calmed her down. She had a friend that I actually walked back with and made sure that they got back home okay, and we chatted. And they were very nice, but yeah, it was relatively intense.
So yeah, you told me about that. I was like, well, not the night you wanted, but the night you got, I guess. I mean,
it was not what I had planned, but
right.
But there was like bystanders who said, hey, thanks for doing that. Like whatever, that was not my intentions, but like I'm not gonna let that kind of stuff slide. Like I don't care where I'm at in the world. Like
that's cool, man. That was definitely the right thing to do. And post that incident, we have talked quite a bit with the locals, and matter of fact, some of the people that we've met in our kind of small community here, we've interviewed for later videos, and we look forward to you guys seeing those in the future. But one of the resounding comments that we had during the interviews was we would ask them, what's one thing that folks should know before they come to the islands? And one of the things that they really said was, we respect that you guys are here. We love that you guys are here. We know that it's very beneficial for our country as a whole, but just don't forget that you're visitors, right? And that applies for anywhere, not just the Philippines.
Yeah.
Anywhere you travel, when people come to the States, people are visitors, and that when we go to somebody's house, like, they're visitors. You just don't make yourself at home, kick your feet up on the couch.
Yeah.
Like, you own the place.
Yeah.
So, the fact that you intervened like that and, showed respect to the locals, and, I was really proud of you for doing that. So that was
a lot. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, we had only been met with, like, the warmest welcome to a lot of people's personal space. And I wasn't going to let somebody who was more like me than anyone else walk in here like it was their space. And
Absolutely.
I was like, dude, look around.
Yeah.
Like, this is not for us.
No.
We are visitors here.
Right.
No one around here looks like you. You're making an ass of yourself,
100%.
and you need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, for the benefit of literally everyone involved.
Absolutely.
So it was weird, but it was funny.
It's just part of the vibe of, people stay out till, this was, 2 or 3 in the morning?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like, it was 3 a.m., yeah.
Yeah, so it's just part of the deal. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's kind of one of the things that General Luna is known for. People come from all over to surf and have a good time for short amounts of time. A couple of days to a week or weekend or whatever. A lot of fun. A lot of fun to be had there.
That tanduay gets flowing, man.
Ooh, tanduay.
And some of those foreigners, they can't handle it. They can't hang with the Filipinos, I'm telling you.
Red horse and tanduay.
Once you start meeting some friends and they're generous and they're like, yo, we're gonna crush a couple bottles of tanduay, you're like, I did not sign up for this, my friend.
No kidding. So speaking of tanduay and generosity and locals and trying new things, we ended up at a party. I guess a disco night.
A disco night at Pacifico Coastal.
Yes.
We'd caught wind of it. Everybody kind of knew that it was happening, and we were like, well, that sounds like something we have to do.
Absolutely.
And it was, it's funny how this will all connect, but yeah, so we roll up. It was you, me, and Mark. Mm-hmm. Max ends up there. Oliver ends up there. Like our whole squad of people, basically, shows up. A guy I met at the beach a couple days before was there. We basically had a whole squad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And weirdly, like, people that we had seen from General Luna, and like it was the spot.
It's
like,
true.
there was a lot of folks there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we roll up. You guys go in first. I'm shooting some B-roll. I walk up and they already knew that I was coming because you had already paid for my way in, and I go in. It was very weird.
There was a cover charge. It was 80 cent, 50 peso cover charge. So.
But then I roll up, and they say on the megaphone that in like 10 minutes there's going to be fire dancers.
Yeah.
And so like I'm walking in when that's happening. You guys already are like looking for a beer, doing your thing, and then like I roll up, and then there's a fire dancer performance.
Yeah.
And it was unreal.
Unreal.
We did not sign up for that.
No.
Very grateful it happened.
Yeah. I mean, was not expecting this at all. There was a group of 4 folks, and they put on one of the most spectacular fire dancing shows I've seen, bar none. It was amazing.
And it happened twice. So they did it. We had a whole disco night, and then they did it again, and we left.
Unbelievable.
It was awesome, yeah. So
and there was little bouts of rain here and there that was just kind of rolling through, and they just went right through it. It was just
the second performance, it started downpouring, and they didn't stop, and it looked so epic. It was super cool. So we're sitting there hanging out. We meet a few people. The fire dancers, after their performance, they actually walk around and like you can take photos with them and stuff, and they like spin the fire in your face and stuff, and it's like super
hot.
It's super wild, dude.
I mean, I know fire's hot, but I see them doing it, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's kind of hot. But then they do it close to us, and I'm like, oh man, that's hot.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So they do that whole spread, and then we meet who we affectionately call Tanduai Taxi Driver.
Tanduai Taxi Driver.
I really wish we knew his name.
It doesn't matter what his name is. The guy is so epic.
I feel like if I knew his name, he'd still be TTD. That's our boy.
Yeah, so we're there for maybe all of, 5-10 minutes. And the nicest guy on the planet comes up to us. And they have a full table right along the edge because they know the fire dancers are coming. They know what's up. And they have kind of a whole, there's probably 10 or 12 of their family sitting there. Yeah. And this guy just has a plastic pitcher that nobody else has, which leads me to believe that he brought it with him. And then there was Tanduai and Sprite, and he was.
It was like two bottles of Tanduai, 2 bottles of Sprite,
and he was doing this, and then he had couple shot glasses, and he would pour the shot glasses, and everybody who was in his vicinity had to do a Tanduai and Sprite.
There's, we say somebody is the life of the party. My man's was the life of the party. No one was not gonna party when my man's was around.
No, even like Oliver was like
so reluctant to do multiple.
Max was like, no, I'm just drinking water. And the guy's like, Tanduai? Max is like, no. And he goes like, Tanduai. He's like, no. He's like, Tanduai. And Max is like, all right. He's doing this.
Yeah, and then Max ended up with a beer. It is what it is.
It's so good.
The party happens. And so we're doing all this Tanduai shots. It's great. We're dancing. Sorry, I don't want to say we're dancing yet. Mark starts dancing because Mark is a wonderful man who just is like, wait, y'all ain't gonna dance? Let's go get it.
This guy goes all in.
He's so good. I love him to death. What a wild dude.
He's amazing.
And then, so more people are trickling in. And then there's this guy and this girl. And they're standing behind where we were sitting. And like, I looked at her, we made eye contact, and I was like, okay. I go up, I think we get beers after that. And then she starts talking to me. And I'm not making a connection quite yet. And then she calls me by name. She's like, wait, you're Korey. And then it washed over my brain that this was the fiery little Filipina that I had stepped in at Banha in General Luna. And she and I lost our minds. We were like, oh my Lord.
It was awesome.
So we started.
She was so happy to see you.
Oh, and she was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And we started talking about it. And I had told Mark and you about this whole story. And I was like, Cruz, this is the girl.
Yeah.
And we're like, what?
Yeah.
So, and then we all end up dancing, and it's a good time. The very short version of the story is that guy actually ends up at the disco, but I think he was so drunk he didn't even remember because I was worried. I went, oh no, I don't want this to come to a head, but ended up being fine. He was with all of his friends, and I assume he was just so drunk that he didn't remember it, or he just did a really good job at not engaging. At least that's what I would expect. I would hope you would just not engage and like, I don't need to rehash that.
That's the move for sure. I mean, the moral of that story is Pacifico is a good hour and 15 minutes north of
on a bike.
Luna.
Like you're gonna spend some time to get there.
Yeah, and where we were at the disco party was an extra 20 to 30 minutes north. So we had to ride home after that. So it was a good hour and 45 minutes from General Luna where that first incident occurred.
Right.
And even then, it's a small island. So go have fun, but be cognizant that it's a small island and you're going to run into the same people over and over.
Yeah.
And for us, like, we wanted each encounter to be a positive experience.
Yeah.
And so was really glad that even though we had some really great times, it was always just with a high level of respect for people, and it went both ways. And so that was really cool. It's that small island vibe that we kind of wanted when we went there, and it was just good to have those random connections. Everywhere.
Well, and it was a constant reminder, right?
Oh,
we're like, okay.
Yes.
And I think like the way I kind of live my life in general is that like, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I'm at, no matter who I'm talking to, like I hope that my existence will at least net neutral or positive. Like the space I inhabit, I hope it is better off because I was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, I mean, if that's the bare minimum, like if it's net neutral or net positive, then I did okay, right? Like I don't want to leave a place that I'm at worse off than when I showed up.
Well, speaking of, you went and did you met a group that was doing an environmental kind of rehab trash.
That was weird. Not weird, but interesting. So we were at Carsata, and I guess there is a group of people that come up to Pacifico from GL, and they're called the Sun Crew. And I was there with Mark. You went to shut it down for a little while because we had a long morning. We were working and stuff like that and running around. I think you guys actually had a surf session and stuff in the morning as well, maybe. And I was hanging out with Mark after you had left, and these people were gathering at Carsata to clean up Pacifico Beach between kind of where we were at Sailfish and then up through Bamboo, basically. So that whole beachfront, which was like our temporary home, right?
Yeah.
So like that was the space we were inhabiting. And I'll be honest, like I'm kind of shy. Like I don't really put myself out there like that, but they were talking and they invited us to come help them clean up the beach. And Mark was like, "That's sweet. I'm actually gonna go surf, buddy. You should you should go with them and do the thing." And I went, "Well, come on, man." But then I went back to my room and I was up on the roof where I could get some Wi-Fi, and I saw this whole group finally gathered and they were walking up the beach. So you and I a couple of days earlier had done that walk to go meet Mark, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just walk up the beach and see what happens. But I was met with this young woman, Claire, and this other young woman who worked for Sun Crew, or like worked with them, named Nina. And they were kind of just like, it's just a group of like volunteers that go through and they pick up plastics and all that stuff.
That's
and
really cool.
So I popped around with them and kind of talked to them about what they're doing. Nothing crazy, but like it was nice that I like pushed myself to do that. And that was our space. Yeah. Like it felt good to be at least something positive because we were inhabiting that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so that was pretty cool. That was good. So basically after the disco, we stop at Carsata. They give us coffee. You're like, I'm going to bed. I go, I can't say no to coffee. So I'm dumb and drink two full mugs of coffee. Mark shows up. He gets some water. That's when we saw a taxi driver. And I chat for a little bit, and then we got to start our next day. And so the next day, I actually don't know the story of you talking about wanting to do the boodle fight. But before we showed up to the Philippines, he actually was the one that told me about a boodle fight. And completely unbeknownst to me, he had already talked to the Carsata family about doing this. So you wanted to you said, I don't know what it takes. What would it take to do that? Is that kind of how that happened? Or?
Yeah, that's exactly how that happened. So just looking into the Philippines before we came, I saw this really cool thing called a boodle fight. And essentially what it is, I guess it started back in the military days of the Philippines, where they would essentially just put a spread of food out on the table and the soldiers would come up and eat it. And it's seafood and all kinds of meats and vegetables and of course rice, and it's just everything you could possibly think of. And it's all there.
Yeah, it's like the biggest family style meal. And you just like kind of have this giant platter of food and you share it with a bunch of people, and it's It's a great time.
And I was like, that looks amazing. I want to do that. Right?
That was like your number one thing.
I really wanted to do it.
This is happening at some point.
Right. There's like wake park, surfing, boodle fight. I want to do the boodle fight. And so I got to talking with Jay one day. It was just, he and I over a cup of coffee, I think. And I said, hey, Jay, man, like I heard about these boodle fights. Do you guys do that around here? He's like, yeah, how many people you want? And I was like,
What do you mean?
I was like, well, maybe we talk about it. He's like, no, just tell me what you want. And I was like, well, I would like to have maybe some of our closest friends, maybe we've met like maybe 8, 9, 10 people here. I would like to invite them and make sure that they have a good time. And, we would really like to meet more of your family as well. So Korey and I would like to sponsor it. And if you kind of let us know, the cost to food ratio, we'd love to work something out with you. And so he essentially said, okay, one table will, cost this much. And I said, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it. I said, what do you need from me? He's like, nothing. I'll set it all up. Right. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Unreal.
Right. So, other than kind of the cost of the food, they essentially took care of everything. They found this really awesome spot for us. They brought out some tables. I don't know if you know this, they shut down the restaurant that day to prepare the boodle fight for us. They only do these now for very special occasions. Right. Whether it's maybe an anniversary or it's somebody's birthday or something like that. But he essentially told me that, okay, you can have about 20 to 30 people for the budget that we had laid out. And it essentially had everything, all kinds of different food. And what it ended up being was about 50 to 60 people and double the amount.
And there was leftovers, food. Man. There's so much food. It was amazing.
So much food.
Some of the best pork. I mean, all of the rice, noodles. They did a whole spot of vegetarian for Mark. Yeah. It was just a pile of basically awesome chop suey and a bunch of other stuff. A bunch of big vegetables. They had like grilled fish. It was like everything. They had like calamari stuff. Like it was nuts. It was
just like they always do. So above and beyond.
Yeah, it was
anything that we could have ever imagined. And we get there and it's us. It's about 8 of us. The foreigners that we had met in this small community. Yeah. And then they had probably 40 or 50 of their family, and we got to kind of know all of them. And they were so inquisitive and they just asked us so many questions, and we asked them questions, and we really got to know them. And
aunts and uncles and the cousins and like basically all the close extended family. We had Doug and Grace, and we had Oliver, and Max was there, and Mark and you and me and everybody. And it was like, man, like how lucky are we that they were so on to put that on for us.
So epic.
It was wild.
Yeah.
And like while they're preparing it, we're just like kind of sitting around watching them prepare these like wild table of stuff. Starts raining a little bit. They like move the table. They're like still setting it up. Then while we're about to start eating, like what happens was it starts to rain. Jay grabs like a meat cleaver, cuts the banana leaves in half to cut the table into 2. Yeah. We put it under 2 like little canopies, and then we have 2 spots to eat. It was just like they were on. It was amazing.
It is unbelievable. I mean, the amount of preparation, just getting the food, then cooking it, preparing it, then setting it out in the spot, which was beautiful with the lights and just the little,
man.
It was
they
on
spilled
the
out carsata and all the rice, and it was spectacular.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. Really unbelievable.
Yeah. It was so good. And then we got to, we sat around and connected with like the foreigner friends that we did make for a little while longer, had a couple beers. And then Jay crossed the street.
Welcome to the jungle!
Oh, man. So I actually wasn't around when they initially brought up the karaoke, but we were hanging out, and then, one of the cousins was like, the first time I knew about it, you had said to her, you're like, karaoke, right?
Karaoke.
So we're all getting ready to go, and it was literally across the street.
Right.
It was this little karaoke spot.
Yeah.
And, oh man.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So we went over there. I kicked it off with Vanilla Ice. Yeah. Ice, baby.
Crushed it.
Yep,
Crushed
did that.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then Mark did Welcome to the Jungle, which was absolutely epic.
Oh man, what a legend. Just 100%.
So good.
100%. Nana, who is a heck of a singer.
Oh.
Absolutely crushing it. Some of the cousins, amazing singers. I obviously did Kiss from a Rose because like Seal is the greatest. And it was really sick. And then so we left from there to go back to Carsata. Is that what happened? What happened from there?
After karaoke that night, we shut it down I shut it down because some of the local family there had challenged us to a basketball game the next day.
Right.
So we were surfing in the morning, and then there was basketball in the afternoon.
So you guys surfed. I was doing some work on one of the videos we posted. We had this like pretty normal day, pretty slow morning, good times. And then my anxiety hit because I'm 6'9" and I'm about to just slop up some basketball. I haven't played basketball in 12 years, nor have I ever really been that good at it. So,
it was good.
Yeah. So, also thank you, Mark, for bailing on us.
Dude.
Coward. Anyway. Tata and Jay wanted to play some basketball. We agreed. You don't really play basketball at any real level without, having a little bit of incentive. So there was some money involved.
A little bit.
And little did I know until we're already there playing, we apparently challenged the best team in Pacifico.
These guys, I mean, they had obviously played together for a while. They told us afterwards, we played man-on-man defense, and the guy I was guarding, they said, yeah, anytime there's a basketball tournament, basically on the island, this is the number one guy. I'm like, oh, great.
Sweet.
Yeah. But they were great. I mean, they played so well.
Yeah.
And
good defense, awesome like 3-man setups, all in flip-flops. The shortest dude on the team regularly crossed me.
Oh, yeah.
He had like the ball under my legs and stuff. He was laughing his butt off, dude, but he was good.
Absolutely.
They were really good at basketball.
It was fun. It was just fun camaraderie, and we got to know those guys as we played with them.
Jay and Tata, every time we would switch sides, they're like, "You good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And Jay would go, "Lack of oxygen?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, man. Well, yeah." I'm working my butt off over here.
It was full court too. 5-on-5.
It was.
They were running us ragged.
It was intense.
It was so much fun. I had a great time.
A little bit of rain, very sandy. Yeah. I don't know how they did it in flip flops. Like
kudos to them. They're talented basketball players. I will say that. Yeah. Very good basketball players.
Next time I'm working on my dunk, so me and Jay will have the alley oop and the dunk together next time. I'm gonna mop up the whole island.
So and that brought us to our final dinner, which was it was really my best night. It was probably my most emotional night.
Dude, it was absolutely mine. Basically not that we wouldn't have anyway, but we go back to eat at Carsata. Mm-hmm. Let me know like your angle on that, because I don't remember the beginning as much as I remember the end. So
so there really wasn't much of the beginning. I think went there just to grab a quick bite to eat, and more and more of our friends just kind of started showing up.
Well, and then Nana and Tata and everybody, they were also having their own dinner. So they were like, no, just sit, please. We're all gonna have dinner and whatnot. It's your last night and everything like that. So we kind of ran the whole thing, and the one Spanish guy came up, Carlos, and his partner. But then otherwise it was Doug and Grace and Mark, and I think, did Oliver and Max show up?
I don't think so. Not that night, but
Oliver was definitely
Oliver there.
So, okay. Because he said for sure he didn't play guitar.
Okay.
Sorry, I do remember that. But so like we had like it was our Pacifico family.
Yeah, it was really nice. More and more of their family started showing up, and then they gifted us some of their dinner that they had cooked for their family dinner, and it turned into this. Somebody mentioned that about a guitar,
and then they said, "Oh, we'll go get one."
Yeah. So one of them runs to the house, comes back with a guitar, and next thing you know, the guitar players in the group, which there was 3 or 4 of them that we knew about at the time.
Yeah, right. So I had some songs. Mark plays guitar, but he was a little timid. Carlos played a beautiful Spanish song that was super cool. Yeah. And we kind of just hung out for a while. Yeah. And we kind of finished up our dinner kind of slowly, and we just kind of talked a little bit, and everything like that. I played a couple of songs, and then like Nana, apparently out of nowhere, she tells me after I play 6 songs that she plays guitar. She played this beautiful Tagalog song.
It was unbelievable.
She's a hell of a
With
singer.
Jay translating the entire time.
Oh man, she's singing this beautiful song, and Jay is such a comedian. He's just like speaking the translation the whole time with like the best intentions, but also knowing how funny it was.
Oh, it was hilarious.
It was amazing. It was so funny. So that was good. And then
there must have been, I don't know, 15, 20 songs that we just kind of went around the circle. Everybody played the songs that they knew. And it was just, for me, it was kind of surreal just sitting in this place of all these people that we had met and listening to them sing and how talented they were, and just kind of realizing that reluctantly we've got to leave this place tomorrow and we're going to go on a new adventure. But it just got pretty emotional.
Yeah. I mean, it was bittersweet because, like, you know, we have so much opportunity to do so many great things. There's so many islands here, and, like, it's only going to stay good. Like, we're just going to meet more and more great people. But, yeah, so, you know, we do that. I think you trickle out, Mark trickles out.
Yeah.
I'm still playing guitar. I go to set the guitar down and leave, and they basically tell me, like, no, it's nice. We're, like, just, like, chatting or whatever. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm going to keep chatting. And then I go to start talking about, you know, some stories from home. They ask me, like, you know, my family history. They ask me, like, some pretty interesting questions. And we start talking, and I ask them about stuff. And we just started to really get to know each other. And it was, you know, obviously we had a lot of conversations over the last, like, week and a half or whatever. But for me, I don't have a very big family back home. I don't feel that connected to people like that often, and it was really heavy for me, man. Like it was super surreal. I don't want to get emotional right now, but like it was really intense, man. Like I felt like a huge connection to them. And it was like I stayed for a couple more hours. I think it was like 10:30 or almost 11 when I left. So I was there for like 2 hours longer than you. Yeah, and it was super good. I finally pack up and it's all good, and we go to bed, and then I wake up a little later than you guys. You guys are already at the restaurant the next day. Yeah. And we kind of have like our final breakfast even. And like, did we even pay for breakfast?
They wouldn't let us.
They wouldn't let us, man. It was so nuts.
I know you are too, are kind of reluctant to receive gifts.
Yeah,
sometimes.
It's hard, man. I don't like it. Like,
right, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's just tough. Like, hey, let me do this for you. And we're like, no. We're like, no. But the Filipinos, they want to do things. It's just in their nature to be gift giving.
They're just so generous.
To be generous. Dude. And we were kind of told to, sometimes when you get a gift, be willing to receive it. And so we've had to learn. Candidly, how to do that. And so that was a big gift that they gave us, and we were very, very appreciative. Not only of that gift that they gave us, but they gave us so many gifts. So,
dude, the whole thing, man. Like, it's like the love that I felt from a family who had no business, like, caring about us as much as they did is unreal.
Yeah, really.
And we're still in contact with them, like, almost every day.
Every day.
You know, Tata's messaged me a few times. We've talked to Nana a bunch of times. Like, they're right there, and they're, like, cheering us on for our travels. They can't wait to see us again. Like, and I know that when we show up again, because we absolutely will, it's going to be, nothing but love. And it's like literally going home. Yeah. That's unreal. Like,
even she posted a picture of you the other day on Facebook. I think she's like 4'11", Korey's 6'9", and she's like, me and my son. Yeah. She posted on Facebook.
Dude.
It was great. It was so
There's
funny.
2 photos. There's one of her standing on the ground, and then she stands on a bench. Yeah. And she's still not as tall as me. Yeah.
She's so cute.
It's good, dude. They're amazing. They're just like I said, I really truly have like a family there. It's awesome. Yeah. Like, and they care so much about us, and I care so much about them, and I know you do too. It's it's like so wild. Yeah. We talk to Jay. We call him our brother. He calls us his brother, and it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
And
we look forward to seeing you guys again very soon. Thank you so much. We truly love it. But that kind of
what a send off,
man. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional talking.
No, yeah.
So I'm gonna have to switch gears for a minute, but So that kind of brought us to the next day where we needed to pack our stuff, and it was a rainy morning and kind of a rainy day. We had breakfast, like you said. Yeah. And then we had to jump on the scooters and head back to GO.
It was rough, man. Like I was heavy hearted the whole day, the whole drive. We were fortunate that like it wasn't so rainy. It was rainy, it was wet all the way back to GL, but I was just like in my head the whole time. I'm sure you were too. It's a long drive, especially when it's cold and wet.
Yep.
We got back to GL. I worked with a buddy actually at the camp that Cruz and I had met at like 4 years ago. I had met this guy from like south of Manila, Alfonso, and he is a buddy that owns a really pretty solid accommodation in General Luna called La Luna. And like before we went up to Pacifico, Alfonso tried to like connect me and this guy Joffer who owns this spot. And I was like, okay. I had like messaged him and said, hey, we're going up north, but we'll be back. And we were trying to figure out what we were gonna do because obviously like we have to get our flight off of the island. There's a little bit of logistics involved in like dropping off our bikes, and then, you know, that little skip gap, you have to figure out when's a good time to leave the island. You know, I would say the planes could kind of vary quite a bit.
It did.
Like double the price one day and like half the price the next.
It really was. Yeah, so it was a certain price on Tuesday, half that price on Wednesday, and then like much lower than that on Thursday. So the prices vary wildly. Yeah, it's crazy.
So I had reached out to Joffer and said, hey, sorry we haven't been able to connect. Like we're looking for a place to stay. And he was very generous and kind of hooked us up. And online it didn't even say that they had stuff. But he like had a room for us available. It must have been like on reserve, or
and it was super
they were doing some stuff. It was a great room.
Yeah.
Love that stay there. So for the next couple of days, we kind of like decompressed a little bit. We got a lot of work done. We have the website that he's been working on pretty heavily, and I was working on like the Siargao Wake Park video and some other stuff, and we'd kind of sorted that out. So we had a couple of, I would say, fortunately, kind of slow, chill days. Went to Big Belly a bunch, and, you know, got our big burgers and stuff.
And haircuts and laundry, and just kind of getting our
we stopped and saw bro one more time.
Stopped and saw bro.
We did, but we didn't hit GL like we had. We knew that we needed to like decompress. We were looking for what we were doing next, and that was our move to Cebu for a little while. You had kind of sorted all that out. We had gotten a place. I was just working on videos, so you were kind of figuring out what we were doing. I guess my question for you would be like, what was the thought process of like, okay, what is the next move? We had done Siargao the way we did, and it was good, but it wasn't ideal in the way that we were moving around so much. So how did that affect like your decision to make our next steps?
Yeah, good question. So we had been bouncing around quite a bit since we'd been here. Manila, Makati, Cebu, General Luna, Pacifico.
General Luna.
Yeah, jump back to General Luna.
Well, and then in GL we had what, like 4 or 5 places over like 3 weeks?
It was a lot. And so like I like to get up and I like to make my own coffee and I like to kind of go do my workouts. I'm kind of big in that. And I just got so out of my routine, and I just felt that we talked and we figured out that this isn't going to be a 1-month deal for us. It's not going to be a 2-month deal for us, and we're definitely at a minimum going to be here through New Year's, but I fully anticipate that we're here for maybe a year or longer. We're not going to put any expectations on it at the minute, but I think we've both got to a point where like we love the Philippines. I mean, we love everything about it, and the more we kind of lean into it and find a balance for us, that the more we enjoy it. And for me, part of my balance in living on a day-to-day basis is being able to do the things that kind of keep me in check.
For sure.
So I can't just get up, eat like garbage all day, go out till 2 or 3 in the morning, and do it again and over, and then move to a hotel. Like I need to have a bit of regiment in my life, and that's just important to me. So we kind of talked about it and came to the conclusion that maybe let's try and see how it feels to get a place that is a little more comfortable, has a little bit more amenities that allow us to do the things that we want to do, has things like a pool, a gym, decent Wi-Fi, so we're not struggling to do the work that we need to do.
But to create longevity, right?
But to create,
you can cultivate a lot in a short amount of time, and we've proven that. Like all the people we met on Siargao in very short amounts of time were amazing. But you can do so much with just a little more time.
Yeah.
And to really feel out anywhere, especially get out of the touristy areas or just like the same stuff that like you'll see anybody go do, you really kind of got to settle in and commit to kind of a lot. Like it's not, you're not going to see, we could have an amazing time and go do all the really sick touristy, tour visits to all these islands and do all this stuff, but like that's not necessarily what has been the good parts of this trip.
Right.
It's so much little stuff. It's the way the culture just kind of exists. It's the people that we meet and the way they exhibit themselves in a small community. And there's so much to it that we just don't experience on a day-to-day. And I'm sure it could be like that in so many other places around the world, but this is where we've chosen, and it's like it works for us.
Absolutely.
We're happy to be in this environment, and I'm learning every day. I assume it's the same. Like there's no way to go about this in the way that we are and not kind of take so much from it.
As much as we need to make some kind of plan of what we're going to do, we found that the best times that we're having and the best adventures are the ones that we just meet people and things happen intrinsically, and we just tend to go with the flow and lean into the times and the gifts that they're offering us, and that's really proved to kind of be the best plan that we could possibly come up with. And we both look back on specific nights and weeks and gone, man, we couldn't have planned that better if we tried. So, but there's also that balance of moving from vacationer to folks that are going to be here for a long time and what that looks like.
It's a very different lifestyle.
Very, very different. So now we're doing things like, okay, what does a month look like at a place? And what kind of place do we want to be in? So we're still feeling that out. Our flight was back to Cebu, so that was kind of an easy solution. And Mark's coming back here to see us in a day or two, I think a couple days. And I think we're going to do a couple of adventures around here, and then his flight leaves out of here. So him being here still before he takes off and goes home, it just kind of all made sense to be here. And then we'll figure out where to be next month. We've already got some ideas of where we're going to go for that. But now we're starting to do things like look at, instead of renting transportation, figuring out how to buy transportation so we can be here and do the things that we need to do. And so it's a bit of a transition for us right now.
Yeah. And there's a million ways we could go about it, but it's just going to be trying to like actually figure a little trial and error and then do what really works out. And, we're constantly meeting new people. We're constantly getting new ideas of what we could be doing. And we're constantly figuring out like what this content will look like to us in the future and like the ways that we want to, immerse ourselves in this community and not be the average expat or tourist. And I think we're doing a great job. There's a lot that we can be doing, but it's a slow roll. We're not going to be able to do that in a week. We're not going to be able to do that in vacation mode. We're not going to be able to do that if we're not taking care of ourselves in the way that you would need to live like a normal, healthy life.
Absolutely.
And once we like got here, I mean, it took a couple of days. There was some rain and some stuff, and we had a pretty fun, busy weekend. But like now that it's happening and we're here, I can already feel like the maybe not necessarily anxiety, but the like jitters kind of iron themselves out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And we've been here for such a short time. We've already met some amazing people. We had an epic weekend, which we can't wait to share with you in the next video. It was so much fun. We just kind of stumbled upon these really cool places. It's just, man. So I was kind of telling you earlier this week that I had Philippines at the top of my travel list for such a long time. And one of my concerns coming here was that I had built it up in my head so much that I was worried to an extent that it wasn't going to live up to the expectations that I had put in my own head. And it's been all of that and more. Truly, and I'm not just saying it. Like the people that we meet, the places that we've been, the things that we've seen, the emotions that I've felt, It's just
It's surreal,
I want to
dude.
be here. I
Yeah.
just want to be here. Yeah.
It's absolutely surreal to me. It's nuts. Like I don't know how. Again, like we've said so many times, like how could we have planned a better trip so far? We've been. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to discount, especially the logistical work that you're doing, and like trying to stay creative and do all this is tough for this kind of environment. But like outside of that, we also got really lucky, and a lot of stars just kind of aligned in a lot of different ways. And you know, maybe not everybody has the experience we have, but like, and I hope maybe that just means that we're trying, you know, to have our due diligence to make sure that we're treating people as good as they're treating us.
True.
But like, from our tourist friends to our local friends to all of the things that we've experienced, it's been really, really good.
Yeah,
like
it really
unreal
has.
levels of good.
It really has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to many more.
Yeah.
We're going to be here until the 27th.
Yep.
So we'll have some stories to share from Cebu, and then we have a couple of places on the radar. But back to island life after this, I think we've decided at a minimum.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that we're not on an island now, because we are, but a smaller island.
Yeah.
We love the city. Again, here for a month, but I think we're going to do more of the island vibe after this, just to kind of switch it up.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways we could swing it, and we'll figure it out over the next couple of weeks, and we'll try to do a little bit more of smaller little adventures and stuff like that. But
Awesome.
I think it's going pretty good.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys for watching. If you're still here, wow. Thank you. Seriously, this is a long-winded one, but I can't express, you know, with words even how good that last week in Siargao was.
Man.
So, yeah, it means a lot that you guys like these videos, and hopefully there will be more good dank memes for us to share in the future.
And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I appreciate all the very kind comments. You guys are so gracious to us, and we truly appreciate it. And I endeavor to answer every one of them. Some of you have even reached out and said, "Hey, we'll pick you up from the airport," or "Hey, you're welcome to stay at our beach house." And I mean, you know, just thank you all so much. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah. All right.
All right, man.
See you on the next one.
Yes, sir. See ya.